It's showing live. Here we go. And awesome.
It's great to be live with you from millions of miles away from Australia to California.
It's true. It's true. And I was thrilled to hear from you the other day. But we're going to launch right into this.
Okay.
Because this is actually episode number 30 of the Conscious Capitalist podcast.
Oh, I love that.
And my name is Barbara Longuet, and I'll be sharing ways to increase your profitability and operational efficiency while improving your company culture, whether your employees are all remote or in person. I'm a best-selling author, speaker, and a profit coach. And I am so thrilled to have with me today Hal Price, whom I've never met in person, but we worked on a project together a couple of years ago. And he is an 11-time international best-selling author and a dog lover. He had an amazing career in marketing and branding executive for the Coca-Cola Company. He retired early to begin his passion for writing and telling children's bedtime stories that help them learn to listen to the whispers of their heart. His verse and chapter book called A Heart's Journey Home won an International Mindfulness Award, is being used in elementary schools as a social emotional learning curriculum. His latest book, The Bear's Essentials, promotes deeper, heartfelt conversations between children and their parents, and is a very popular read out loud storybook on Kidlit TV. His philanthropic efforts range far and wide, especially through his charitable endeavors with the Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation, which help families in need navigate through pediatric cancer. He serves on the board of directors of the Best-Selling Authors International Organization, is a 2019 Ambassador of the Year, Carpinteria Chamber of Commerce, is the father of 3 purpose-driven children and 3 amazing and imaginative grandchildren. You know, I am just very pleased to know Hal and know Riley. Riley looks a lot like my little dog, Cleo. Riley's had a very nice bath. That looks
we gave him a nice bath today getting ready for the show. He says, Dad, I don't want to smell bad on I said, it's not smell-o-vision. We're just on Facebook Live. So. Anyway, so he's all prepped and ready to go. And
he is.
Since you've read that bio, I've gotten married and picked up another 3 children from my wife. So Jody and I have 6 kids between us and 4 grandchildren, a dog and a cat. So
that's awesome.
We're good. We're good.
I should have asked for the updated version.
That's okay. Count on me to say it. So.
Yeah, exactly. But so what was really the reason I reached out to you to say, why don't we just jump on a call, is because your latest book has gathered a whole lot of attention lately.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a book that we created in 2018, actually. And it's just, I call it the Iliad for children. It's 25,800 words of perfect rhyme and 58 chapters. So children get 20 minutes of a story time each night that leads them to.
Sorry. Just adding a backup. That's all good.
Okay. So they get 58 chapters of a story that every night it'll give them 2 months of 20 minutes of reading, bonding with their parents, because bedtime stories are slowly dying. And I said, not on my watch. So, and because I got a great story every night by the world's greatest storyteller, my mother.
That's awesome.
Who just every night she would ask me one question before we went to bed. She's like, what was the best part of your day? And she proceeded to make up a story about my day every night. And she would, my little bear and I, this was my little Elijah, which became Eli.
So that's the actual bear.
Yeah, this is my little actual bear, and this is who he became later on. But anyway, and you know, my reason for writing the book was just, you know, that those special moments. And I was reminded, Mom was diagnosed with dementia in 2000. It became Alzheimer's in 2011, somewhere in there. We took care of her at home for a number of years. And one day we just couldn't do it anymore. And we sent her to a care center. And I walked in the day before her 83rd birthday on June the 17th. And I leaned in to kiss her, and she knocked the crap out of me. She's like, who are you and why are you kissing me? And I said, I'm your son. She said, no, my son's 3 years old. And I'm like, now I get it. So I went home and I just prayed about it. I said, what can I do to reconnect? And I just heard, you got to go higher. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I realized I was supposed to go in the attic, and I found my bear, my little books, all the little golden books that Mom ever read to me. And I went back the next day and I sat down, I came up to her and I said, Mrs. Price, I would like to read you some stories today. She said, well, that would be really nice. So I put the bear in her lap and she said, she had lost her sight during a 5-year period. And she's like, he doesn't smell too good. I said, well, he's old. And so anyway, as I read those stories, Barbara, and Mom was blind also, she mouthed the words to every story she ever read to me in those little golden books. And I'm like, there you are. I knew you were still there. And she passed away about four months later. And that hung with me. What was that? And there's a part of the brain called the lenticular cortex where it holds all of our precious memories, where if you hear a song, you're in a special moment, you remember that moment from the song. In her case, it was reading the stories to me. And I'm like, I don't want that to die. I want children to have that bonding, emotional connection with their parents or with their grandparents or just with anybody that'll read them a story. So I knew that because song stuck with me, I knew that rhyme and pattern was important. So I wrote this book, 25,800 words in perfect rhyme. And, it just every night at 3:00, I would get up and the vortex is very, the veil's very light during that time period. I heard Mom just telling me words. And I would get up and I'd write them down. And it turned into poetry. It was our bedtime ritual again to get a story at night and to have it rhyme. And, fast forward, we produced this book. Fate led me to find all the people that I needed when I moved to this town. Everybody I needed was within 2 miles of my book. I joined a little writers group here and I started talking to them about my book. And in that group, they introduced me to Michael Bayouth, who became my illustrator for my books. And he is a former Walt Disney illustrator. So
that's amazing.
Michael, this is Michael Bayouth. And because of Michael, we have this amazing book cover. And Michael has got us into this, because of his phenomenal work. Forget the writing, the cover was phenomenal. And Michael did such a great job that we got nominated as one of the top 19 children's books for this group called Bedside Reading. And we'll know the results tomorrow morning of how we did with that. But anyway, for me, if you want to ask questions, I'm going to talk for a few minutes. You know how I am.
You talk and I'll jump in because I know there's some very real questions I have for you, and we'll
so what happened was I said, you can't write about a heart's journey home if you don't take it yourself. So I called my old elementary school and spoke to them about coming to the school to make donations of my book there and to thank the people that had helped turn my life into something special down the road. And I got there and, my bear talks, right? That Eli, I have an app that lets him talk to the kids. So when I got to school, the principal was having literacy night that week. And I went in and there are 484 kids at my old school. It's now called H.B. Ream Elementary. And there were 7 grandmothers there who all came to be there just to get out of the house and to have some cookie and coffee and meet their friends. And nobody took any of the handouts home for literacy. So I said, Dr. Carter, do you mind if I stay and work in your library while everybody's here? So I went and got the 4 things that they needed to know. I took Eli and I set him in the library with his friend Rascal Roy the raccoon. And I just recorded him. And he said to the kids when they walked in the next day, Rascal, you're going to embarrass me to death tomorrow when everybody comes into this library and you can't read a lick. So we got to know 4 things. 1, let's find a book that you really enjoy. Let's find a comfortable place to read it. Let's read for 20 minutes and be sure to ask questions, and that'll help us be better readers. So when the kids walk in the next day, I played that video on the big screen in their library media center, and they were just gobsmacked. Their mouths was like, that bear's talking to us. And the teacher called me back, the principal called me back about a week later and said, what did you do to my children? I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, we tested them on things to be better readers. And everybody, 98% of those kids, 484 kids got these 4 things that you told them to do, we would like to work with you. And if you could do anything at this school, what would you do? They're a Title I school. It's a, they have a difficult time with kids. And I said, I would build self-confidence. She's like, how would you do that? I said, I was 62 before I wrote my first book. I would like to do an author in residence program where I come and work with the kids, with the art department, with the literacy department, with the teachers and all the key people. And I want the children to collectively write a story that we'll publish, and I'll have it published. So it was during Red Ribbon Week. So we called it The ABCs of a Bully-Free School Where Kindness Rules. So it was a whole book on kindness. So the kids did all the illustrations, and each letter of the alphabet had M is for merciful. We're thankful for each day. N is nice and neighborly. We don't argue in any way. So, and then in the end, they have, Eli and Rascal walking off into the sunset. So those were that was the beginning. And the teacher that I worked with that got me into the school, Veronica Primus, I still do work with. We've created a new program called Story Hugs. We're finding Story Hugs. It's next to my name there. Yeah. We're finding authors who write books that have beautiful, powerful, social, emotional learning messages. And we record them reading their books, and we pipe that into the schools. And we've created a curriculum that goes behind each one of those stories. And our goal is to work with the kids in next school year to help coach, guide, and help them learn to write, read, and we will print their books to leave in the schools. That's our goal.
That's pretty amazing. So they, from the very outset, they had measurable changes in the kids' ability to
recall. I know. Well, there's no teacher like a bear, you just, and he hides all of his secrets in his heart. So he was born with a hole in his heart. So he can hide special secrets. And the morning he thinks about it, and he wakes up and he sees what he was thinking about, and he can hold that intention. And there's just there's nothing this bear can't do. Except a rhyme. I have to do the rhyming for him, but other than that, we're good.
And how are the kids? The kids good at rhyming?
They're amazingly good. What I love is they draw me pictures and write stories about what they learned, about how Eli had to listen to his heart. So another gift that came out of this, Barbara, was because it's 58 chapters. Is there chapters that I realized that some of the kids really related to more so than others. And there's one that's called The Bare Essentials. It's chapter 4. Okay, you can't really see it, but anyway.
It's hard to see it.
So once I realized that, Michael and I got back together. I said, Michael, we're not done yet. I have 58 little books in this book.
Yeah. Let's
create one called The Bare Essentials.
Okay.
To learn how to listen to your heart. And that's exactly what Eli did. And we have these. So Michael and these are our pictures of us when we were in the 2nd grade. So we wanted to write from a position of, our childlike nature. And so what we did was we taught the kids how to listen to their hearts.
Yeah.
And to write down what it said. And I think this, every book that we sell raises money for Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation. Right. Wherever that is. Oh, it's over here.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
And so our book has a purpose. Our book is not just, put it out there and pray that it does something. It has intention. It has kindness. It has messages of how to follow your heart and how to be a good person. And
so has your curriculum, has this program that you put into that first school, has that been duplicated?
We're working on that right now. I've got teachers with Veronica who are actually putting a curriculum together for the next school season to be able to bring our Story Hugs book with a story, with a curriculum and a program to help the kids learn to illustrate, draw, write, express, and produce their books over time. So that's our goal. And then
because that's a whole lot that you're able to package into one small little book, to be able to add that social emotional learning as well as building self-confidence and teach them how to read and write. So
Barbara, I mean, what shocked, I didn't know what social emotional learning was. I just wrote a book that made me feel good and it rhymed, and it was about being a good person. And my teacher, Veronica Primus, said, she said, I've been grading social emotional learning books for years, and I've never found a book that covers so many topics. I'd like to turn this into a curriculum with and for you, and we'll take it to
Wow.
schools around the country. And then, as you may know, Sue Busen, who's also in Vicki Winterton's EPI group. I don't know if you do or not, but she's one of the experts on tapping to be able to remove fears.
Right, right.
So she and I have known each other for about 7 years, and she put this book together for kids called Tap into Joy with Eli Benjamin Bear. So it teaches them their tap points to remove fears and anger and anguish and everything else. So this is just one little book that Michael and I put together. He brought it to life by showing what this animal looked like. And once we did, we designed, that bear to be.
So the Bear Essentials was stimulated from the kids' actual book that they wrote.
Yeah, chapter 4, and the whole kindness book. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so is it that the funds are going from the sale of the book or going directly to support various charities? Because I know there's a few that you're actually involved in.
Yeah, I've got several charities that I work with, but right now my books support Teddy Bear Cancer Foundation. But what we're doing is working on getting grants to be able to buy the books at the author's price, so I can sell. I can go and get these books for $2 and ship 100 to the school, and we're trying to raise money or get grants so that the authors aren't having to pay to have their books put into the schools that we're working with, but they're donating their time to record on video and an evergreen story that it's a 15-minute story of them reading the book, and then the kids have the chance to talk to the author if we come back live afterwards. You're just going to record it, but some authors, like I stay for the, and we talk about the book a little bit, and they come up and ask me questions, and they send me pictures of their favorite part of the book and everything else. So that's what we're doing.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. But what spurred this conversation today was because there's an award about to happen, and there's people get a chance to vote. So tell us a little bit more about that bedside reading program.
So I met this phenomenal lady, Jane Udell Meyer, and she has this program that she called me about when she first saw the Hals Journey home. She said, "Hal, I've created a program. We've been doing it for a couple of years. We don't really do children's books, but we buy books and put them into luxury hotels. So when people check in, there's a book at their bedside table for them to keep and take home with them." Wow. And we work with the staff to have reading time so the mom and dad can go out and have a date or a dinner, and we'll have reading time. And they're in the Hamptons, they're in Miami, they're in New York City, they're in Washington, D.C., they're in L.A. So she called me back and she said, "I haven't forgotten about you. We love your book and we love your talking bear. We have our very first annual or inaugural program. It's called the 2022 Bedside Reading Book Cover Award. And it's for 4 different categories, and yours is for teens and children. And we'll, make a run at it and see if you can get people to support your book for winning." And Michael got behind it, and I got behind it. My wife got behind it. And Eli and Riley sent messages to their friends, with both of them, but every vote counts,
Yeah,
so anyway.
But the voting ends tonight, doesn't it?
It ended at 5:00 already.
Oh, no.
I know. I thought I misread it, so I've misrepresented.
Oh.
It ended at 5 Eastern.
In the nick of time. Yeah.
I did too, but I have a really good feeling about it. I know I had a lot of people send me messages that says, "I voted for your book," and you can only vote once. It's not like other elections.
And I voted for your book, so
I love you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so I actually have it on order here in Australia. And I was trying to think of ways to get that into the local schools, because that is one of the biggest issues of every school is how do you stop bullying? How do you have the kids be more mindful and more aware of what their actions and the repercussions of their actions are?
Yeah,
and every school is looking in that direction. So,
and that's why we started. I don't know. We had so much more time with our parents back when they kind of gave us lessons every day and stuff. But I just realized that there's some great books out there that really have powerful emotional messages to help kids figure out who they are, how they move through life, how to be a good person, how do you respond to differences in life, all that stuff. And I went through and looked at, I found 50 authors over the last 3 months, and I've read their books, and I've talked to a couple of them already about coming into our program, and everyone said yes so far. So I'm excited about that. And my teacher group, we're working with a new company called Vitalcy, Vitalcy. It's for people who've brought their wisdom into the age past working so hard.
Right.
And they have so many gifts and skills, but Gustavo Zeiselberg out of New York has put this program together. If you go to vitalcy.com, I believe it is, you'll see the programs that we're working on. And he's asked me to lead a program where we really connect with children and put school programs together. So they're working with me to do some of that stuff. And Karen Glasser is doing all my video work. She's phenomenal. She's really brought my books to life with her interviews with me, of me reading my book. I said, we should do that. And she does it with a lot of authors. And I'm excited. There's endless potential of what we can do. It's just finding a book that speaks to your heart and says, this would be great for kids. Let's make it a story hug book.
That's fantastic. So if there are other people who are watching this, and we get a lot of entrepreneurs who also are very consciousness minded, what do you think their best method of approach would be? Is it to reach out to you, or to reach out to this?
I'd be honored to have them reach out to me. We really we're trying to organize it right now. It's not a set program. It's really Veronica Primus, myself, and this wonderful lady named Kay Stahl, who's a brilliant professor at New York University who works in literacy and education and stuff. And we've just been working on this for the last, we piloted a program in 3 schools in South Carolina, and with great success. And we're just slowly trying to have a proof of product, but we're looking for great books and great people who can tell a great story with enthusiasm and engage people deeply in their stories.
Yeah, that's amazing. But that was originally your profession. You were a big marketer.
I was just a me who learned to make people like things. I used to run Major League Baseball's pitch and run program for children for years. And then I went to Miller Brewing Company and did all their sports marketing, professional and motorsports, and worked with a lot of professional athletes. And then Coke hired me to come run their sports marketing department in 1989, and I worked with them for 5 years. And then I left Coke to manage my own company. I started doing branding for professional athletes. I worked with Jeff Gordon when he was 22 years old, and worked with him for a long time. And I had 5 or 6 other athletes that I worked with. And eventually one day back in 2014? Yeah, it was. In February, my heart woke me up at 4 a.m. and said, I'd gotten up to like 360 pounds. I was working at my desk for 17 hours a day. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I didn't go to bed for a couple of days, and my heart just grabbed me and says, you got to change everything that you're doing right now. And I drove myself to the emergency room, and he said, you're in good shape for a fat guy, but you can change it all, and you have to, or you won't make it. And I started looking at everything differently, and I moved to California and started walking every day, and I found a dog to walk with me, and we take pictures while we're walking, and God says cheese and I say snap, and we keep going, and we've turned it into a photography business. And I'm doing stand-up improv. We're working with the local theater and doing plays. I'm doing a lot of art stuff and a lot of heart stuff. And Jody and I work for like 4 or 5 different children's charity organizations, and with Alzheimer's. We do a lot of work to support Alzheimer's, to honor both my mother and her grandmother.
Oh, that's really amazing. Your story is a really powerful one, your own story, and the Eli Bear story is also incredibly powerful. I think the two of you make a great.
I'm making up for lost time for not having played as well as I should have when I was younger. I think I was too serious as a child. So
I have a hard time picturing that. I'm just
yeah. I'm a work in progress for sure.
Well, listen, it's been great having you. So what's the best way for people to reach you? Is there a website that
if they go to the website, they're not going to reach me. They'll just see what I do. But Eli Bear Stories is the website. But to reach me, just send me an email, Hal Price, 1955@gmail.com.
Great.
That's probably the best. Or say hey on Facebook. I'm just Hal Price, not half price. I'm full price, Hal Price on Facebook.
I hate to say this, but that is what comes up when you start typing into Google.
I know. I'm
It
I'm
doesn't
tricky.
autocorrect.
Well, it weeds out people that can't spell for me, so I'm kidding.
That's great. Well, listen, I know you've got a busy day ahead of you, and good luck. Hopefully the numbers fall in your